here to start. This is the July 2026 live stream coming at you from Columbia, South Carolina. I see there are a few people waiting to hop on. Appreciate that. Yeah, so as always, I'll catch you guys up with what I've been doing over the last month, and then if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them as we go. First things first, before we get into anything else, I just want to show you guys the drink of the day. So today, it is this Jackson Hole soda, and most importantly, it is Huckleberry flavored. I've mentioned it before, I love Huckleberry, and it's very hard to find. I got introduced to it in Idaho, and I know it's in Utah, and I think, hey TM USA, and I think Idaho, Utah, and then I just recently found out it's mainly based out of Montana. So that whole area, everything up there is Huckleberry flavored, and it's really hard to find it anywhere else. So there's a little bit of history about this. I have had this bottle packed up in my stuff since I lived in Indiana. Now, I moved from Indiana to New Hampshire in March, I think, February of 2025. So it's been a while. This, I think, was either from late 2024 or early 2025. And with that said, this is expired, except that I cannot find the date on it now. I found a date on it at one point, and that's how I knew it was expired. And now I can't find it. I genuinely don't know where the date went, but it was on here like a month ago, and now I can't find it anywhere. So, that being said, I'm still gonna drink it. It's only expired by like a few months or a year or so, but it might affect the taste. So, let's start that. And as you guys can tell, I don't drink, so this might take me a minute. Okay, that was a lot easier than I thought. All right. Now it just smells like straight up Huckleberry. I don't know if it's an actual, well, it says natural and artificial flavors, so I don't know which it is. Hey, Max. Oh, thoughts on World Cup. Let me finish trying this, and then I'll talk about that. Okay, well, definitely tastes like Huckleberry. I feel like there's something else in there too. I don't know if it's like maybe like a cola that then has Huckleberry flavoring, but it's good, whatever it is. I don't think it tastes like exactly Huckleberry, but it's like Huckleberry with something else. Okay, I'm definitely going to be finishing that through this. And just imagine if it was not expired, it would probably taste even better. So, Max said, thoughts on the World Cup. Okay, so my thoughts on the World Cup. I didn't watch any of the matches. I did like, on TikTok, there was this thing called the Great American Sleepover, and I liked seeing the people coming from other countries, like experiencing here, trying food that we have, that kind of thing. I really liked that part of it. I couldn't even tell you if the World Cup is still going on or who is playing, so I don't really know much about it. And just before I forget, yeah, if you guys want to try this, I don't have it tagged right now, but I will tag it in the video after it's re-uploaded. This is Jackson Hole Soda High Mountain Huckleberry, and I got it at a little shop in Indiana. In Indiana, a whole lot of the towns start with Green something, and I get them all confused. I think it was Greenville, which is a suburb of Indianapolis, if I'm thinking about the right one. There's a mall there, and in that mall, there's a little shop that has like candy and sodas, and that's where I got it. Normally, I try not to get the ones that are packaged as like touristy or like novelty sodas. I try to get like real ones that are like real flavors. But this was Huckleberry, and I couldn't pass that up. So, if anybody out there has Huckleberry, anything, feel free to send it to me. I would love it. All right, so yeah, World Cup stuff, I really don't know much of anything about it. I mean, I played soccer in junior high, but that was, I think, the first year that they had soccer in Ohio. I mean, you had the Columbus Crew in Columbus, but in like my part of Ohio, like rural Ohio, we just got soccer. It wasn't even an official school sport yet. We had this thing called the Marietta Soccer League, and they weren't like school team based. They were just, well, I think everybody on my team was from my elementary school, I think, but they didn't have to be. It was just kind of like a team would be clustered in an area and then clustered in an area. And I can tell you, our first sponsor was Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, local number 168, and then second year it was Tessem Business Services, which was the business of a parent of a kid that was on the team. So soccer was not a big thing. I don't think it was until I was in high school that we even had it as a high school sport. So that was kind of, yeah. I played for 4 seasons, spring and fall, my 7th and 8th grade years. But, you know, there's a difference between playing and watching, I guess. You guys have probably noticed I still wear Sambas, so I have some soccer influence, I guess. Other than that, don't really know anything about the World Cup. I'm trying to think of what all I've done in this past month, because it's been a lot. One thing off the top of my head, I finally got my driver's license. It was expired, and I wasn't driving because of that, and on top of that, I was having a hell of a time getting the documents I needed, and I needed it to get hired in. So what I ended up doing is I got a South Carolina driver's license, but I didn't have enough documentation to get a real ID, like with a star where you can fly with it. So I have a driver's license, a normal driver's license. I have to get more documentation and then go again and pay for another driver's license to then get the real ID so that I'm able to fly. And then, as you guys know, for the last 2 years, one of the goals has been to get my passport. So once I get the real ID, and now that I have an address where I can receive mail, then I can finally apply for my passport. Realistically, that might happen by the end of this year. So that's one thing that I can scratch off the list. So I am making progress there. I was planning on going home before my training started, but I didn't get to do that. So as you can see, my hair is really long, and I'm doing the best I can with it being that long. I need to get it cut before school starts. I got it okayed by one boss. It's kind of a, you're not really supposed to do this, but I understand your situation, so go ahead kind of thing. So sometime probably next week or the week after, I'm going to be driving to Ohio. I'm going to get my hair cut. I'm going to go to storage, get some bins of things, and then get my microwave and my toaster oven, and maybe some clothes and a few other random things, and bring them back down here with the plan that I'll stay here until Thanksgiving break. We have a fall break in October, but it's only, like, the house closes on a Friday and then reopens on Monday, I think. I'm pretty sure I get Saturday and Sunday off, and the guys have to leave the house during that time. But the problem is, I mean, I can't really justify driving home and then coming back just for a weekend. Like, that's pretty much all I would get done would be driving. So I'm just gonna wait until Thanksgiving break, because there's like an entire week off. I'll go home again then, and then I'll go home over Christmas break. And each time I go home, like I have errands to run, I'm gonna go to storage, I'm actually gonna be bringing bins of stuff down here to put in my apartment, so that in that interceding time between getting them and going back, I'll actually be able to sort through the stuff, and either organize it or get rid of it or sell it or whatever it is. So slowly progress is being made on that too. Then on the 16th, I officially had my first day, and I officially got hired in, did all the paperwork and all that stuff. So I do now officially work for the university. And then from the 16th, which was the week before last, and then all of last week, I've had trainings and I had a conference right after. So I've been very busy. This weekend is actually me catching up. I've got quite a lot of stuff to do around the house here to get it ready for the guys to come in, and I have a lot of initial setup stuff too, trying to figure out how to use the computer system, setting up my email signature, setting up, like, oh my god, there's so much stuff to set up here. Later tonight I'm going to be working on more onboarding activities with the university, signing up for different plans and stuff. There's just like a lot to it, and I'm still getting all that done. Then tomorrow and the next day, I'm going to be on hiring panels. So there's an interview on Monday and an interview on Tuesday. I'm signed up to be on the interview panel for that, where I'll be interviewing a couple different director level roles. I'm not the only one, but I'll be one of the people asking questions on that. And then I think, is it Monday or Tuesday? I don't know, one of the two. We're having a departmental social where we're going to an axe throwing thing. I'm not thrilled that it's at a bar, but I want to do the axe throwing part of it. So see how that goes. It might be fun. I might totally embarrass myself. So I don't know. I'm not super good at I don't know, not everything. Like, I can throw a frisbee, I can throw a machete, which is a whole thing that there's a reason behind. But I don't know, I was never good at throwing dodgeballs in school. I don't think I'd be very good at pitching a baseball either. So we'll see how the axe works. Hopefully I don't embarrass myself. What is on that? Yeah, I don't know. Some kind of grody dirtiness on the bottom. Also, guys, I just want to let you know, if you hear random vibrations through this, just know I did have to leave my notifications on my phone. I don't expect anything to happen today, but I've already had my my alarm panel go off twice, and the police show up when that happens, so I just need to know if I'm getting a call or if I'm getting something coming through. Hopefully not. And if I do, we'll deal with that then. How is the audio today? Because if you guys noticed, I know we've been having trouble with the audio in the live streams, but I filmed that video about the package I got, and the audio is perfectly fine. So I'm still trying to troubleshoot it. I don't know if it's like a recording video versus live streaming on YouTube thing. I don't know. But nobody said anything about the audio yet. Sounds good? Okay. That was Glass Candy 13. Thank you. Yeah, look, I have no idea. I don't know if it's audio's okay today, TM USA. Okay. I haven't changed anything. I don't have a mic. It's the same phone I'm recording with. I don't know what's been going on with the audio. I mean, I do agree with you guys. I eventually need to get a mic. I'm dragging my feet because, like, I have a million priorities, and a mic is probably one of the lowest ones. But I do need to get it eventually, if not for problems with the audio here, at least just because I do want to try to be able to film some other types of videos, and that type of mic would be helpful for that. So I haven't done all the research yet, but I think I know which one. Yeah, I think I know which one I want to get. TMUSA says mics are expensive. Yeah, the one that I'm looking at, or there's like two. One is, I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's like Rode or something. That's one. They have one particular one that is like a clip-on, and then it's wireless to the phone. And I'd have to do a lot of testing before I go live with that, just to see how it's going to work and how it's going to act in a live stream, make sure it's going to work, all that stuff. The other one is a cold shoe mount. So it would be powered either from the phone itself or from like a battery pack that would set on the mount on my ring light. I haven't decided yet which one I'm going to go with. If I do get the one that goes here and just clips on, it's between $100 and $200, which normally I would be like, I can't afford anything. I can't afford that. But I do have some money sitting in my YouTube account because about a year or so ago, I was having some issues with my computer and I think with editing. And so I decided, I'm just going to have to start saving up money to get a computer, a newer computer that would edit what I needed it to edit. Well, I've switched to editing on my phone because YouTube created a new app called, I think it's YouTube Creator. And instead of using iMovie, I've been using Creator to edit. So I really don't need to do that on the computer anymore. And well, and the other thing is, so I have that money I was saving up for that. And then at the end of this month, I'll hit the $100 threshold to get a payout toward the end of August. So it's going to end up being like $110 that'll get paid out. I mean, since I haven't been making videos, I haven't been making much from YouTube. Maybe $10 or $15 a month. So this is like a long time coming that it's finally, it's finally added up to be that payout. But it makes me feel more comfortable with actually spending some of that money. So I'll do that. With as busy as I am about everything else, no promises. I might be able to order the thing, have it by the August live stream, but maybe I haven't had time to test it out and see what that was. Floodland 9999. What was the most expensive thing you've ever bought? Well, if we're talking one transaction and not talking about like, I paid for college, right? Like, because that's probably the most I've ever spent. But, let me see here. I'm not going to count my car, which I sold earlier this year. It was like $13,000, but I got a loan for that. And so obviously, like, I didn't pay for that all at once. If we don't count the car, I don't know, because the thing is, I don't really spend money. The only things that I can think of as far as really expensive things would be either the second laptop I ever had, which I still only have the third laptop I ever had. But the second laptop I ever had was a MacBook Pro, the first one ever made. I bought it in April 2007. So it wasn't even the aluminum unibody yet. It was half plastic. It was the very first one where it went from either a Power Mac or an iMac to being called MacBook Pro. And I had that thing from April of 2007 until sometime in the fall of 2016. So it lasted 9 years as my everyday, thing that I used all the time. So that was very much worth the investment. But I think, okay, I don't even know if there's a way to double check this, because I definitely don't have my bank transactions from 2007. But I think it was around $3,000. And MacBook Pros are way, way cheaper than that now. But it's just like everything else electronically, like TVs used to be. A flat screen TV was like thousands and thousands of dollars when they first came out. I was in college and I desperately needed it. And I got it at the Apple Store in Columbus. I did not get the most expensive model. I think the one I got was pretty average, except I think I got a bigger one. I think I got one with a bigger screen. I want to say it was around 3,000, but I could be wrong about that. And then the only other thing I can think of is in September of 2015, I bought a car. It's the one before the one I just sold. I want to say it was 4,000 something. But yeah, guys, I really don't spend money. I know I get a lot of criticism for spending money, but I really don't spend that much. And I definitely don't buy expensive things. I mean, I can tell you this cell phone that I have was $1,600 because I bought it in 2021 when it's an iPhone 13 Pro Max. I bought it when it came out. But that was an investment because I knew that I was going to be poor soon. I still had the money to buy it, and I wanted something that was going to last several years to get me through the poor times. And that's exactly what it's done. So that was just a good planning on my part. I'm gonna have to think about this off camera. It is a good question, and I want to really thoroughly think about that and see if I've missed anything. But yeah, I don't think I've ever really bought anything in my life. Even when I bought my land, because you guys know, I haven't really talked about it, but I do own land. I am eventually going to make a video about that. I only paid $480 for the land. So I really just don't ever spend money at all. So yeah, buying a $100 microphone is still a big deal to me. But anyway, yes, so TM USA says your girlfriend was the most expensive. Yeah, well, was she the most expensive? Honestly, there is a way that I could quantify that if you really wanted me to. So when Mint went down in spring 2024, I downloaded all the transactions back to when I signed up in 2010, and just realized that anytime that I bought anything for her, I categorized it, right? Because I was doing my budgeting. So there is a budget item called stuff for girlfriend, and I can literally go through and I could add it all up. And that would include me paying her rent and paying for her car and paying her utilities and giving her spending money and buying her alcohol, and which, because she was an alcoholic, was a lot. And and then then we have lawyers and court and so it's a lot, but it's also, I mean, if you added it all up, maybe, yes. If you say, like, everything spent on her, that might actually be the most I've ever spent on anything. Um, and that's also ongoing because we're still, I'm looking at it right now. I have something sitting on um, my desk here regarding her that I need to file soon, which will cost more to do that. So that is ongoing and accumulating. Floodland 9999 says, after my vehicle, I finally spent on a quality mattress, believe it or not. I used to get cheap ones that caved in after a year. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, so as far as mattresses, I still am sleeping on the couch as I was last month. I told you guys that. They did buy me a new mattress. It's a very nice one. It was like $2,000 or $3,000. It's a Nectar mattress, and it's not the highest end one they make, but one step down from that. I won't get into like everything and why. I will try to, by the time the guys get here and moved in, I'm gonna try to get this all set up. But basically, partly time, but there's some other reasons I haven't like got my bed put together and started sleeping on it yet. But yeah, that is a good investment. And I don't know if you know this, but in a lot of situations, if you have an HSA, you can purchase your mattress through the HSA. That way you can use non-tax dollars to do it. Or if you don't want to use the HSA to pay for it, you can save the receipt, and then at a later point, you can reimburse yourself for that purchase. That way the money's not taxed. Glass Candy 13 says, I miss mint. Yeah, I really do. Mint was, I mean, I just felt like I had my life together. To have everything all in one place and to be able to see, because I used it from 2010 to 2024. I had literally 14 years of history of like net worth history, or for like each account, I could see the account balances and how they fluctuated over time. And I've lost all of that. The only thing I have from Mint is some screenshots that I took of the front screen so that I could later on reconstruct what all accounts I had at that time. And then I did download all the transactions. But even with the transactions, it doesn't bring back like the account balances and history and stuff like that. I've talked about it before. It's going to have to be after I get settled into this role. So realistically, it's probably going to be next year before I even start. But I do want to test some replacements for Mint because I've never found one. And I do eventually want to get back to that point where I have everything back together all in one place where I can just look exactly at my entire finances. And I haven't found anything yet. I have 3 picked out that I want to try. Although I will say, I went ahead and added in all of my retirement accounts to one of them just to kind of like test it out as like a pre-test. It's not going very well. So I'm going to include it in the video, but I already know I don't like it. But I'll see what I have to do. That is all part of the plan of getting my shit together. But, I mean, I did just get a job. Well, I got housed a couple months ago. I did just start a job, and my first paycheck will start coming in August. So I'm well on the right path of getting my life back together. And another project that I'm working on that you guys know about because I've said it on here, but nobody cares, I don't think. I'm trying to get through all of my past emails. Basically from like 2021 when the problem started with the girl to, I don't know, 2024 or so, at least when I dropped the lawsuit. I started out with 15,000 unread messages because I just could not stay on top of things I had to focus, one, on survival because I like wasn't making any money, basically. And then two, all of my focus had to be on the lawsuit or fighting her in some way, in some other way in court. Because I couldn't afford a lawyer, I had to do it myself, which included not only doing it myself, but learning how to do it myself before I did it. So I had no time to do even basically going through my emails. And that's why I like fell behind on my taxes and everything else. So what I'm doing right now, I have my Gmail account and I have my old Yahoo account. And I go through each day and I go, right now I'm working on 2024 emails in Gmail and I'm working on 2023 emails in Yahoo. And each day I go back and I go through them. And sometimes they're old ads and I can just delete them quickly. Sometimes it's things that needed to be followed through. Sometimes I look into it and it's too late, and then like I was looking last night and working on a project where there was like these 2 different class action lawsuits. Well, turns out the one that I didn't reply in time to sign up for the payment, I didn't miss out on a lot. The payment was $8.16. But you know, basically sometimes I find it's too late to. Other things I can still do. Unfortunately, there are people out there that I'm replying to 5 years later that have sent me an email about something. And then, of course, I just reply, and I've gotten some weird responses like, where have you been? And anyway, so I'm working on that. And the other good thing about this is I have not filed my taxes from 2021 or 2022. And you might think, well, just go do that. Except 2021 and 2022 were probably the worst years of the stuff I was going through with the girl, which means that I was the most disorganized that I've ever been. I made notes here and there. There are emails to go through to like kind of reconstruct some stuff. But especially having been self-employed for most of 21 and 22, I'm trying to put together what income I made, what deductions I had, like what mileage I had. And I know I didn't record a whole lot of it, but I did record some. And I'm trying to go through all of the notes on my phone from that era, all of the emails from both email addresses from that era, and reconstruct what should be there before I can even start filing those taxes. So that's actually one of the things that I'm dealing with is I'm doing the email project to get my life back together. But as part of that, that helps with getting my taxes, all the information together to get my taxes filed. So if I get one project done, that'll help me get the other project done. Oh, and speaking of, I do have an announcement for you guys. Well, not an announcement, I guess, but I'm trying to get my student loan update video out, and I haven't got it out yet. Obviously, you guys haven't seen it. I have run into an issue. Here, actually, I'll pull it out right now. Hold on. All right, so here's my issue. I don't know what's all over this, but there's, all right, here we go. All right, so this is what I'm working off of. This is my, oh, those are all my balances. Okay, so see, I am preparing, but that's what's also taking so long. So generally, July 9th of every year, I'm supposed to have a video out with an update on my student loan balances and what's happened the past year. Well, I haven't made one since 2020 because 2020 and by July 2021, you know, my life was chaos because I was dealing with a girl. So this this is year by year, date by date. Everything that I either wrote down or have been able to reconstruct about what happened during those years regarding my student loans. And this is, they're labeled, you can see here. Yeah, so all of this in there. Account balances are right here. But I also have this, which is, this is like me personally, but then this is the national timeline, all the stuff that was going on with like student debt and different announcements of different plans to forgive debt, and then the court cases that held them up and everything. So I need to take this and I need to run it through this and include all these dates in here. And then once that's done, I think I'll be ready to film. I just got to find the time to do this. That's what the holdup is right now with the student loan stuff. And in making that video. But it is coming. It's just, I'm incredibly busy right now. But it would be in my best interest to get that done before school starts. So I'm really going to try to. At this point, it's almost certainly not going to be in July that gets posted. But August before school starts, that's my goal. I just want to have that done, basically, so I don't have to deal with it right now. And then, yeah, once I get that done, then I also won't have that stack of papers laying around. So that'll make me feel good about that too. God, it's so gross. What is on that? It's hard to tell. This was in a storage unit, and then it was in a storage bin. It's been to Indiana, New Hampshire, South Carolina. It's also been in storage in Ohio, I'm pretty sure. All right, I want to check something. I guess I can't check from mobile. Okay, never mind. All right, so essentially, guys, that's kind of where things are. I have like a pretty steep learning curve on the role. There's a lot to it. It is a busy job, but it's a very flexible job. So you have a lot to do, but you can kind of spread it out, do it mostly on your own schedule. I just need to figure out what I'm doing. And then once I do, it won't be that bad, because that's the time consuming, like figuring that out. Once I know it, I'll be able to easily schedule it whenever works for me. So the plan before next live stream is hopefully to have that student loan video up. Hopefully at least order a microphone. But also, I need to go home to Ohio, get some stuff out of storage to bring back for me to sort through before November, get my microwave, get my toaster oven, which will expand what I'm able to eat here, and then I'll get my hair cut, and then that's pretty much it. Once the money starts rolling in, things will be a lot easier. Glass Candy 13 said, "Did you ever find out why you were let go in New Hampshire?" No. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So I don't know, and no one ever told me anything. And I fought really hard the months after I was fired to get them to pay back the money they owed me, and they did pay a lot of it. There's still an outstanding amount of maybe like, it's like several things put together, but like $100 or $200 that they just absolutely refuse to pay, even though like there's no reason not to. Like, they do owe me the money, but it's like they paid random stuff and won't pay other random stuff, and I don't know what their deal is. As far as like why I was fired, I never was told anything, and I don't really have anything to go on as far as like suspicions. When I filed for unemployment, they asked me if I knew or if I had an idea of why I might have been fired, and essentially I wrote down 3 answers. And I said it might be any one of these things, or it could be something entirely that I don't even know about. Or it might be a couple of these things and not another one, I don't know. But the 3 things were this. Number 1, there were certain tasks, like certain things, projects that needed to be done at the house, that for whatever reason, I would have assigned to me. Like I would create it saying like, hey, this needs done. But then somebody in upper management would take that project and assign it to themselves. And I mean, I'm not going to complain about that if they want to take something off my plate. But the problem was that frequently when that happened, those things didn't get done. And if they had stayed with me, I would have got them done. So I'm just kind of conjecturing here, but I'm wondering if at some point the CEO got upset that those things weren't getting done, and then the people who didn't do what they were supposed to do blamed me for them not getting done. But I don't actually have any reason to think that. I'm just trying to figure out what could have happened here. Another thing that I thought of was, oh shoot, there were 3 things. I know what the third one is, but it takes the most explanation. So that's why I'm leaving it to last. I took a screenshot of what I wrote to unemployment. I'll have to see what that was. Okay, I genuinely don't remember now. Maybe I put it in the other video, maybe I didn't, I'm not sure. I'll have to think about that. It's really gonna bother me. Okay, so it was the other projects thing. I don't know. I don't remember what the second one was. But the third one was asbestos. So just like a week or so before I got fired, I think I found asbestos in the house. And anyway, I emailed my boss about it because basically what it was, I came home from vacation. They had told me they had fired the handyman and they were using this other service. Well, when I got there, the other service was there doing stuff, but then the handyman was also there. And for some reason, he had busted up the tile floor, which I did not tell him to do any of this. He had busted up the tile floor and then cut the hardwood floor out from underneath that. And then there was this layer of like thin black paper that was under that floor. Well, it looks to me to be black matic or some other similar type of product that has asbestos in it. And the house was built in 1927. Well, I know before they had told me, oh no, we removed all the asbestos from the house. But you didn't take up the hardwood floors, so you didn't remove it if it's under there. And so anyway, there was all this black dust everywhere. There was no containment of it at all. And then there was these like pieces of this like cloth or paper or something that's coming out from under there, like in chunks of it. So it looked like asbestos to me. So I emailed my boss and I said, hey, one, I think I found asbestos in the house and it's not contained and it's like basically right outside my door. What do I do about this? And the other thing that I said to her was also, why is the handyman here? I thought you told me you fired him, which that clearly wasn't true. Or she intended to, but didn't do it. So again, my boss is dropping the ball. But like the but then she started gaslighting me, telling me that okay, so I guess I'm jumping ahead here, but basically I said, I don't know why he's doing this. Do you know why he's doing this? I didn't tell him to cut the floor open. And so she emailed me back, completely unconcerned in tone about the asbestos. She actually told me, the only thing she said about that is that she was forwarding my message to the CEO, which I took as like kind of a threat of like, how dare you say that, and I'm going to show the CEO that you dared to bring that up. But she didn't address the issue at all. And then as far as the contractor and why he was there, the one that she was supposed to have fired, she said, oh, well, he had to do a repair to the floor under the tile because of the flood. What fucking flood? You live in Colorado and you work in Illinois remotely. I'm in New Hampshire. I live in this house. What flood? There wasn't a flood. And like, this is what I mean, like she was just gaslighting me. Like saying, oh, this is necessary as this repair. Is like, that didn't happen. What the hell are you talking about? And so anyway, I'm being told that the floor repair had to be done because of this flood. Well, even if there was a flood, they only cut out one tile, and the subfloor under that. And it's tile. It didn't leak under the tile. I mean, I guess, yeah, like it's possible, like if it's cracked or broken or something, like if water got on it, yes, it could go through. But it wasn't cracked or broken. There was nothing wrong with it. It had only been installed a year earlier. So there was no way water got under the tile or that one specific tile anyway. None of this made any sense. So anyway, oh yeah, it was like a week after I told them that I thought I'd found asbestos. Not only did they, from what they said, not care at all, but also like a week later I got fired. So, I mean, I'm going to roll with the assumption that it was because I brought that up and they just didn't want to deal with it. But I'm not really sure. So, New Hampshire is a right to work state, meaning that pretty much you can get fired for anything or for no reason, and there doesn't have to be any, like, employers can just do that. However, specifically, they cannot fire you for asbestos. It's considered retaliatory behavior. What is it? Retaliatory behavior toward whistleblowing. I don't know. It's something like that. Anyway, so it's both a federal and a state violation. I fully intended to go to a lawyer. That's why I dropped the $100 or $200 that they owe me, because I thought that I would just have the lawyer deal with that too. But the thing is, there's a 180-day window between you getting fired and you being able to file the lawsuit to get compensation for being wrongfully terminated. Well, I mean, if you look at my life, like, you know, I became homeless. I didn't have money because I lost my job and I was blowing through my savings and racking up my credit cards because I got fired. And it took me until, well, I got fired in January. I got housed in June. I started work in July, and I'm not going to get my first paycheck until mid-August. So I really haven't been in a place where I can focus on a lawsuit. I think, I have to double check this, but I think last week was the last week of that 180 days. So I think I may be outside the window to even address this in a lawsuit, which is bullshit, because when you think about it, it's like, it's such a tight turnaround. It's such a tight turnaround of like, when you have a month to move out, and then you're trying to find a job, and you're homeless, and you're just trying to survive, you're not in a place where you have things together enough where you can just find a lawyer and put a case together like that. So I'm still gonna, maybe within the next month or so, I'm gonna put the case together, because it's actually really simple as far as the case goes. Market it out to some lawyers in New Hampshire, and then I think most likely they're gonna say, well, it's too late, like you had to have this filed already. And if that's the case, well, that's all I can do. But what I will do, and it's just on hold right now, pending whether I actually am able to take them to court about it or not. It's looking like not, which means that I'll be able to do it earlier, and I will actually make a full video, basically just talking about when I worked there and the problems that I had, and then like how it ended, and how, what I think it's over, and yeah. So basically I've made several videos before after I've left employers of like the problems that I had there, and I will make a video addressing that, just basically addressing, I got fired, it seems like it's because of this reason, but they never really told me, so I don't know. But there were some other problems along the way. Up until then, everything like balanced out to where there was more positive than negative, so I wasn't really unhappy there, but there were some other issues that I had issue with earlier on. So I'll talk about that. And yeah, somebody said crazy story. I mean, that's, yeah, it was like the way that I was treated there, especially was really bad. And that's one of the things that, when I think about still like what happened there, I still think about it. I'm like, why were they so like hateful and standoffish in the end? Like, literally nothing had happened up to that point. I'd never been written up. I've never been in trouble. Like, they offered me promotion just a week before all this happened. Why are they being like so hostile? And I don't know. SBRN4FY. Yeah, I did. I haven't talked about it on the channel. So it was something that I thought I was going to make a video about at the time. There doesn't really seem to be a right time or a right way to announce it, so I just never have. But at some point in the future, yeah, I'll have to make like some kind of announcement about it. But there's only, well, you now too, but I think there's only one other person on the channel that knows about it. Although if you're asking where the life insurance money came from, that I mentioned on the last live stream, that's from my stepdad. So he died in 2013. He worked at a company where you could take out life insurance. I think it's called like supplemental, shoot, what's it called? Supplemental something life insurance. Supplemental group benefit life insurance. And so like the group is the company he worked for. Supplemental is that, I think it's not for yourself, it's like for somebody else that you're related to or something. I don't know. So anyway, he took that out, and that's how I got the money from the check that I got last month. That's getting me through until I get my first paycheck. And then like we talked last month, the remainder of that is going to go toward my smaller private student loan to pay most of it off. So I don't really want to get into that, like what you mentioned. I will at some point, but I don't know exactly when or how. Um, so that has contributed, I mean, to everything else that's gone wrong in my life the last 5 or 6 years. Um, that's also been another huge thing on top of it. Oh, thank you, Ashy Fox 241 for the super chat, 4.99. Um, Mark, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. You're a warrior, brother. I really hope things start to turn for you. Yeah, thank you. I to be honest with you guys, so like I'm not sure for SBRN for FY. I'm not sure where you found out about it, but um, I didn't say anything about it on the channel, and it's just because I didn't know like how to address anything. Um, it was July 2024, so 2 years now, and yeah, there was some stuff leading up to it, and I was at a really bad time in my life, and I just, to be honest with you guys, I made a video earlier in the day that she died, and it was me talking about how stressful the like stuff was dealing with the combination of her being in the hospital, me having car problems at the time, um, and me, you know, doing DoorDash to try to survive, because I mean it was really that close to not surviving. And then later that same day, um, my cousin called me and told me about it. And then that night, like late that night around midnight, I made a follow-up video after she died. And originally I was going to take those two videos and, you know, because eventually I'm going to kind of separate the channel where there's like the main part of the channel, and then there's like a members only section for like people, you know, who do pay, even if it's only like 99 cents a month, but who pay for access to that. And if they're doing that, obviously they're not just a casual viewer of my channel, so they would care about more personal things. And I was going to kind of put it up there as a way to make it a little bit more private, but make it public for all of you. But as I've thought about it over time, I mean, obviously both of those videos caught me in a moment where, you know, it was right after she died and it was like right before she died. So I don't think that I should put that out like publicly to people. At some point, probably, I don't know how to do it. I'll figure it out. But at some point, I'll put out an update, just basically explaining that it happened, probably explaining like I am now that I haven't said anything because I didn't know how to address it. And then probably if at that time I have a members section set up, I'll probably put a much longer video where I talk about what was going on leading up to that and spending time with her at the hospital and then the nursing home, and then you know, her dying and the funeral, and now on top of everything and on top of that, I'm also probating her estate. I'm the executor of her estate, so that's more legal involvement, and that's more trying to, it's like more project stuff for me to do. So there is a lot going on, and I don't know. I feel like I'm probably coming off as I'm not upset, but I am. It's just, I've been dealing with it for 2 years. And, well, I mean, it still bothers me every day. But I also, I don't know. It used to be I couldn't talk about it at all without crying. Like even at her funeral, like her, well, I guess the service before the funeral, like I didn't even speak because I had a lot to say, but I couldn't. Um, so the thing is, it's the first time that I've had to really deal with death because my great grandma died when I was like 2.5, and I remember her, but I don't know. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But I mean, I might remember snippets about her dying, but I was like 2. I didn't understand what was going on. So it didn't, I don't think it bothered me because I didn't know. And then when I was in college, my grandma died in 2010. But we were estranged. Some stuff had happened a few years before. We got into a huge fight, and we never really made up from it. So even though I was around her, because I'd go to visit my mom while she was taking care of my grandma and grandpa, my grandma and I didn't really speak much when I was at the house. And then my grandpa, by the time that grandma died, he had Alzheimer's, and he was still living at home, but he never really talked much anyway. But then as he started to kind of, well, he was still fully functional, but he just did, a lot of times didn't know who people were or like where he was. He died in 2015, and at that time I was once again going through a bad part of my life. And I think partly because of my financial struggles and partly because of his mental condition, because of the Alzheimer's, like there was like a distance there between us. It wasn't anything bad. We weren't upset with each other. It was just, it made it difficult to visit, I guess, and I didn't visit that often. But my mom dying has really been the first time I've really had to experience death. And I have a lot of thoughts about like how things ended. There was some stuff that happened afterward, like with the nursing home and my cousin, who's like my mom's age, that was like upsetting. Like, I'm sure I was being touchy about stuff, but like also things like some stuff went wrong, and then like I don't know, there was a lot of stuff. Which if I ever make that video, I'll tell you guys about all that. But so now like the only and well then of course once my mom's gone, like there's no family left. Like it's me. My dad still exists. I don't think I told you guys this, but now I still haven't had any contact with my dad since 2019 when we had a big argument over him being controlling. And since then, he seems to hate me. He hasn't tried to reach out again, and I ran into him in January of this year in West Virginia. I had gone home over Christmas break, and I went to the library, and he acted super weird and super creepy toward me. He didn't speak to me, but he made me extremely uncomfortable. And so I don't really know what to do about him. I'm in a tough situation where, you know, I have one parent living and I have like no other family. But I don't really know what to do about my dad. He's not a positive person to have in my life, and yet he's the only family I have. And yet at the same time, I don't want to, regret later on not spending time with him any more than the years that we've already missed out on. But I do think if he was in my life, he would cause a lot of problems. So I'm just kind of frozen, and that's where I've been for years, where I just don't know what to do about him. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have really any family left other than my dad, who I don't know what to do about. My mom, she's been, well, it's been 2 years now. And my cousin, who's my mom's age, I didn't know her growing up. I got to know her over the years because she was helping my mom out with stuff. She's in pretty bad health too. And when I go home, one of these times this fall, I'll try to meet up with her, but it's like sometimes she can't drive and she's going blind, and then like there's like a bunch of issues. So I don't know if that's gonna happen. But I'm out here on my own, and I don't know. So yeah, I didn't tell you guys what happened because I was trying to survive. I was going out doing DoorDash or Instacart every day because I had to. I wasn't getting by. I wasn't getting the minimum bills paid. And I had to focus on that. So I did go to the service. I did go to the funeral. I did get some of her stuff out of her nursing home room. There's a whole thing about that. But she did. Now, because she was in a nursing home, she didn't really have much in the way of assets. So she didn't really have much to pass to me, but she did give me some things. Like there was some money in her, she had given me, just a few days before she died, she'd given me $20 to go get my hair cut. And then when she died, she had around $200 in cash in her purse. And I'm documenting all this for her estate, but she had that. The nursing home swears she has a bank account. She was not supposed to have a bank account with the Medicaid or Medicare or whatever restrictions she had. But I have not been able to find where that account is. So that's ongoing. She did leave a car, which I also don't know where that is, which is a whole other issue. All I've been able to confirm with the BMV is that it's never been registered again. So I don't know. I have the VIN number, but at some point that's something I'm gonna have to deal with. I do have her storage unit, which has all of the stuff that was moved out of her house when she sold it. I have a few bags of her stuff and a couple pieces of like furniture that I moved out of her nursing home room. And and what I was gonna say, there is one thing that she did leave that I can probably get some money out of. I kind of have a feeling that she did this on purpose. So the way that she was set up, she was on, I don't even know. I get Medicare and Medicaid confused, whichever one she was on. It was the type where you had to liquidate everything you have. And then you're only allowed to have $50 cash per month. And then that's why she had to sell her house. Like, she wasn't allowed to have any assets. So one thing she did, though, that was really smart is she bought a wheelchair. I have the receipt and all the paperwork for it. It was $28,000. So it's an electric wheelchair, and it's like a really fancy one, and she got like all the options for it. Now I'll have to mess around with it to see, but I think it's one that you can strap your legs into, and then it like raises up and puts you in like a walking position. So it's like a really fancy wheelchair. Um, and anyway, so yeah, like the final price on it was $28,000. I know it's kind of hard to sell stuff like that, um, but if I can even get like a quarter of that to get like $7,000, um, I mean, that's still a huge amount of money. And I feel like she found a way without being allowed to have money. I feel like she got the government to pay for that thing, and then she never used it. My cousin said she used it 6 times. So it's basically brand new, and she got like an extra battery, and she got all the attachments for it and everything. And I have the original receipt. So at some point in probating her estate, that's going to be sold. Now, as far as we know, this is kind of a mess. She doesn't have any debts. Um, so there's no creditors, and I'm the only beneficiary. So anything that does come out of this eventually would go to me. Um, and I wasn't really expecting anything. I mean, even before she went into the nursing home years ago, she told me something about her inheritance. Like, forget exactly what she said, but she mentioned that like there would be one, but it wouldn't be a lot or something like that. She knew, like, she kind of set up the expectation of like, um, it wouldn't be much or it wouldn't be a lot or something like that. Well, anyway, um, it definitely sucks for my stepbrother and my stepsister, because when my stepdad died back in 2013, he died 3 days after his dad. So his dad had this huge retirement fund. And I don't remember how many brothers and sisters my stepdad had, but it was like 5, 6, somewhere around in there. And just my stepdad's portion of that retirement account from his dad was like $450,000. And mom, of course, because like basically his dad died and then he died, and then my mom's married my stepdad, so that went to her. Well, she told me to give that to my stepbrother and my stepsister. So I never considered that would be anything I'd have access to, and I intended to give it to them. But she never actually put it in their name or put them as the beneficiaries. Or well, maybe she did that. I'm not sure, but basically because it was never expressly put away so that it would go to them, when she got on Medicare or Medicaid, they took all of that. So my stepbrother and my stepsister didn't get any of that. And I don't know. I would say up until a few years ago, I'd say they're worse off than me. I think they're better now. My stepbrother got married, and I think he's doing pretty good now, because I think the guy he married was rich, or like comparatively rich. I mean, they moved from Indiana to Florida and bought a camper, and they seem to be doing pretty well. And then my stepsister, I don't really know what's going on with her. I haven't seen her in years, but I think she still lives like in the middle of nowhere in like not a great house, but she seems like pretty stable financially. So I think both of them now are better off than me. And then I know I talked about this a little bit last time too, and I haven't had really any time since last time to work on it, but basically, if we look at everything that's happened the last 5 or 6 years, I lost my job right before COVID. the girl started causing me problems right around the same time. And then over like 2020, 2021, 2022, I went through all the problems with her, whether it be arguments or cheating or her trying to get me killed, and then like all of that stuff. I've had to deal with all of that and the fallout from it. But on top of that, you know, I've had to deal with, well, a lot of it was the legal stuff, and that really weighed heavily on me. It was stuff that had to be done, but with me being in the financial and mental state I was as a result of, you know, what I refer to as the divorce, I wasn't in a place to do it, but I had to, and I forced myself through it, and I am a lot worse off for that, mentally at least. And then, yeah, I still kept struggling with money. Then, even though, yes, there are some ongoing things in court with me and the girl right now, the main ones are over, and these are some like peripheral things that are going on. It seemed like just basically after I dropped the lawsuit, you know, it wasn't 6 months after that that mom died, and then everything's happened after that, and it has just been so difficult. And then on top of, and then I got fired in January, and I was homeless in the middle of the worst winter that Boston has had. Oh, and then there was the whole, my roommate tried to kill me in 2023, which led me to be homeless for 14 or 15 months. And then still struggling with finances. And then on top of that, like I told you guys last month, I found out that my great-grandfather isn't even my great-grandfather. So I'm having like a crisis about that. And it's just been, when I tell you guys, because sometimes when I talk in my videos and I say, you know, things have been really hard for me, I get these comments where people are like, shut up, man, it's that way for everyone. And I'm like, no, when I say that, I am being objective. I am not playing the victim. There is something about my life where I have had far, far more than the average share of misfortune. And that has weighed really heavily on me. Yeah, just know that. And at some point when I do finally, when things with the girl finally end, because they haven't ended yet, we're not together, that's not what I'm talking about, that's not a thing. I'm saying like we're still fighting each other in court. At some point when all of that is wrapped up and I start making the videos about explaining everything that's happened with that, I can give you guys more details about what exactly I'm talking about. Okay, let me get caught up on comments here, guys, and then AJ, I'll get to your comment and explain that. Okay, so Potet, guys, I'm sorry, I'm gonna mispronounce all of your names. Potet Kaya says, I'm so sorry about your mom. I have followed you for a while, but this is the first time I've seen you live. I'm so sorry to hear this. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I try to do one monthly live stream toward the end of the month. Honestly, my life has been such a mess for the last few years that I've not been posting videos very often, and doing a live stream kind of keeps the channel going and it keeps people engaged. Hi, Fresh Lights. And it just kind of keeps the channel together while I'm not making videos. Pass 12 says, man, I've been following you for a long time, since the Abercrombie video, LOL. The world really switched up on us millennials, man. It's hard out here financially. Yeah, for sure. I definitely, like, I compare myself to people I knew in high school and college, and I definitely feel like I have it worse than most. Um, and again, that's one of those situations where people are like, oh, well, like, you know, you're just making excuses. But the thing is, um, it's just, well, I lost my train of thought of what I was saying there. What was your comment again? Oh, um, no, I'm just saying, like, everybody around me seems to be better off than me. And I haven't really made a lot of mistakes. I've been pretty good with my money. Um, like somebody asked me earlier, you know, what's the most expensive thing you ever bought? It, it was not that expensive. Like, I don't really waste money. I don't create problems for myself. But yet I have so many problems. And I hate that because, you know, there's only so much you can do. You can not create problems for yourself. But if for some reason you're a magnet for other people creating problems for you, you can't really control that. And that's what I'm having to deal with. Let's see. AJ says, I just arrived. What happened to Mark's mom? So I'm not sure how it came up. It was. Oh, well, I guess they erased the message, and that's okay. But SBRN4FY asked me about my mom dying, which she did 2 years ago. But it was not anything that I ever said on the channel. Like, I didn't. One of the moderators knew about it, but beyond that, I never mentioned it, and I didn't make a video about it. I was trying to figure out how exactly to do that, and I may still, because I mean, this is really only going to be seen by people here on the live stream, or people who, you know, who happen to watch this back. It's tough, right? Like, if somebody asks about my mom and I have to bring up every time, like, oh, well, she died, like, it's really uncomfortable for me, and it's uncomfortable for the person asking. When they were probably just asking, like, hey, have you talked to your mom? So I'm not really sure how to address it. I'm not really sure how to just, like, make an update or an announcement about that, especially now that it's been 2 years, because then that makes it even more difficult to try to find the right time to do it. Oh, but like, yeah, AJ, to more thoroughly answer your question, I actually don't know the cause of her death. I'm sure it's on the death certificate. I do not have those with me. They're in storage in Ohio. I have not looked at it. I mean, really, just because, you know, I don't know. I guess it would just be upsetting. But I also know that Mom, she knew so much about medicine. And so much of the time when they told her that she had something, like when she was at the nursing home and they diagnosed her with something, she would disagree and say she didn't have that. So I would almost guarantee that whatever is put as the cause of death, Mom would either say that she didn't have that or that's not actually what happened. I actually don't know. Like, either what was written or what actually happened, I don't actually know. So just to give you a little more detail, in 2024, around like April or so, something happened. I don't exactly know what it was, but my cousin told me later that she thinks Mom kind of realized from that she either was unhealthy or that she might die soon or something like that. Because after that, she made my cousin power of attorney, and she wrote her own obituary and some things like that. Well, Mom something happened to her again around the end of June, 2 years ago. I don't really know what, but I got a call from the nursing home at around 10 p.m. saying that her, I don't know, something like her vitals were looking weird or something. So they sent her to the hospital, and she was doing really good for a while. And then she kind of declined, and they had to intubate her. And I don't really know what all the problems were. I'll try to think on this and remember for like when I make an actual video about this, but I don't really know what all the problems were. But she came off the tube and she was fine and she regained her strength. And I was there with her at the hospital for several days. She wanted to go back to the nursing facility, at the nursing home. They wouldn't let her do that unless she took this heart medication, and she didn't want to take it. And I asked her why, and she didn't really ever give a reason as to why. She just didn't want to. But the problem was that whatever problem she was having, if it came up again, like, well, basically, like, the medicine kept it from happening. And she just didn't want to take the medicine didn't seem like any particular reason. So we were like, okay, like, you know, you don't have to take the medicine if you don't want to. I mean, especially with Mom's medical knowledge, I think my cousin and I were just like, she knows what she's doing. But the thing was, the hospital wouldn't let her go until, one, they saw her eat something, because she really just didn't want to eat, and she said every food looked gross or something. I don't know. But she didn't want to eat the food, and they wanted her to eat something, and they wanted her to go on that medicine. And then she could go home. Well, she didn't want to take the medicine, and she didn't want to eat. She did eventually eat some, but not a lot. And then what they basically worked out with her is like, they're like, fine, if we'll drop the food thing, but you have to take this medicine. And Mom was like, I'm not going to take it. And so they told her, okay, look, the only way that you can go home without taking this medicine is if we put you on hospice. And essentially, Mom was like, okay, let's do that. Because she's just like, I just want to go home. And essentially what it was is, and Mom even explained this to me, she's like, it's not like it used to be. Basically explaining that hospice doesn't mean she's dying. And I know that because, like, my ex who's 36, 37 right now and living a completely normal life, she was on hospice. So I know that hospice doesn't mean anymore that you're dying. And so, like, Mom was explaining that to me. We were talking about Jimmy Carter, because at that time he was still alive and he'd been on hospice for years and years and years. And so anyway, she didn't outright say it, but it was pretty clear she just went on hospice so she could go home. And so she did. And then I visited her there the next day. And it was 5 days after that, I think, that she died. I don't know what happened. It was a whole long story, but my cousin was texting me updates, and Mom was completely fine when I left. We were talking about me coming to visit her on Christmas break after I started my new job. And then she was fine for like the next day or two. And then my cousin said that she just kind of, every day that she came to visit her, she was just worse and worse and worse. And I'm not sure what my cousin's thoughts were, but from what I was being told, I had no idea that she was going to die. That was like not even within the realm of, I mean, I guess when she went back in there and we knew she had the heart problems and we knew she wasn't taking the medication for it, I thought, okay, that's probably going to happen again, that heart problem. And this medicine that prevents it from happening isn't obviously going to work. And now she's changed all her paperwork where she's not a full code. She's like, I forget what it was even for now. She didn't want to be intubated, and I think it was if there was a problem with her heart, she didn't want to be resuscitated. But so like, I was in the mindset of this is going to happen eventually, but she seems fine now. Like, this might be months later or years later that something actually happens. And it turns out that, well, I don't even know if it was the heart, but something happened within just a few days. So, yeah, that's basically it. It was a complete surprise to me. I was really shocked, and I don't know if it was a surprise to my cousin or not. I've never really got that worked out. But yeah, there's a lot more to this story, guys. I'll have to tell you some other time. Fresh Light says, sorry to hear about your mom. Good that you had patched up with your mom and spent some time with her. Yeah, guys, like, Mom and I, like, we kind of made up. We had a few phone calls, and then I saw her a bunch, multiple days in the hospital. And then I saw her at the nursing home that one day after she got back. And everything was, like, good. Like, she was good. She was healthy. And then I left for the weekend to get my hair cut. And she died before I came back. So I still don't really know what happened. There's a lot of information I don't have, and don't really have a place to get it from. I mean, all I have is that written cause of death, and I have my cousin who was there even the day that she died. She was there earlier in the day. So I have bits and pieces of information there, but like, I don't really know what all was going on or what led to that. So yeah, we ended things on good terms. Although I will say that Mom wrote me a letter, and it was in her safe in her room, and it was really bad. If I make that video, I'll probably talk about it some. In my mind, how things stand with me and Mom right now, or how we left them that day that I visited her at the room and left to go get my hair cut and was coming back early the next week to visit her. Like, that's how I think of how we left things. But then after she died, I found that letter, and I'm really conflicted because I don't know when that was written exactly, and I don't know if she still intended for me to find that, or if after we patched things up, if she didn't feel that way anymore. But it's really tough. It was a really awful letter, like something that no one should ever say to anyone. Not that it was even correct anyway, but to have your mom die and then to read that just a few days later is really a really terrible experience. And because I don't know if she still meant that or still intended for me to get that letter after she died, the way that I have thought about it is just like, well, since I don't know that, the only thing I can do is just let things stay the way they were there at the hospital and the last day at the nursing home, where we were on good terms and everything was good. Um, so, but mentally, it's definitely a struggle, and that's at some point in the future when I can afford a therapist. That's definitely something I'm gonna have to work through there. Um, OMB LARPing says, "Do you know who Tom Pearl is?" I don't actually. Let me see if I can look him up. Okay, it'll take a little while. I got my computer over here. Um, it'll take a little while for that to come up, but I will try to look that up. AJ says, "Oh wow, I'm sorry to hear that. I had assumed she was still at the care facility. Thank you for sharing it. How old was she when she passed?" Yeah, so yeah, because she did go back to the nursing home. She was there. So I think I visited her on a Thursday. That was the day after she got out of the hospital. And then I think I got my hair cut Friday. So she was there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then she died on Tuesday. So it was like really rapid, just because she was so good at the hospital, and then when she got back to the nursing home. So, what was your question again? Oh, that she was still at the care facility. Yeah. How old was she when she passed? She was 75. Yeah. She had turned 75 in March, and she died in July. But to be fair, my mom had had a really rough 8 years. I didn't tell you guys this because she told me not to, and like I'm not gonna. This is something I could create an entire video series about, so I'm not gonna get into it here on this video. Mom actually got kidnapped in 2016 at gunpoint, and that was originally what started this whole journey of her getting injured and then being in the hospital, which then led her to being in a nursing home, which then led, basically what I'm saying is, if mom was independent, like if that had not happened and mom was independent and she was doing her own thing, she probably would have lived a lot longer. Going into a nursing home, I think, has a detrimental effect on a lot of people. I mean, sure, if you can't take care of yourself at all to where you're going to die in a few days, if like you're not like eating or bathing or whatever, like sure, you're going to live longer being in a nursing home. But when you're basically a fully functional person and you go into a nursing home, that like really reduces your quality of life. And that's what happened to her. So she, her main thing was, so she was supposed to be in a wheelchair. It's a whole long story, but she was supposed to be in a wheelchair. Generally, they just kind of left her in bed and didn't put her in the wheelchair. But the thing was, whether she was in the bed or whether she was in a wheelchair, she didn't get much exercise. She didn't get to move around a lot. And she, like, because of that, she gained weight. She gained a good bit of weight. I have no idea, like, numbers wise. But, yeah, she was in there for 8 years and basically didn't move throughout the day. So she gained a lot of weight because she was still getting food, but she wasn't getting any exercise. And I think that weight had a lot to do, maybe even had to do with her heart. I don't know. But it it wasn't good for her at the meeting, or at least. Um, so yeah. Um, so that is part of what I do when I go home. Like, I usually go up to Columbus. I get my hair cut. Um, I I go down to where she's buried and I visit her. Um, it's not too far from either my storage unit or hers. No more than like, I don't know, 10 miles in each direction. Um, so I go out there. That's always part of my. I don't always make it, and sometimes I get out there and it's a huge thunderstorm, and I can't stand on that hill without getting struck by lightning. Um, okay, so, oh, sorry, I forgot to whoever I was looking that up. I'm looking to see who Tom Pearl is. I've got my computer over here. In case I do see your comments, I'm just way behind on comments, so I'm working my way down. The first person that came up was, all I see is stuff about sex offenders, some guy who eats diarrhea, and some guy who played football for a college in Florida. So you're gonna have to elaborate on which Tom Pearl you're talking about. Okay, so AJ, oh yeah, AJ says, how old was she? Yeah, so she was 75. Okay, Case, it said, just got here. How's the job situation? Is the lawsuit completely finished by now? Okay, Case, it's been a while. I think it's been, I don't think I've seen you since like January. Okay, so job situation, I have a job. I started on the 16th of this month. So I have housing, I have a job, and my paycheck, first paycheck will finally come in August 15th. So it's kind of some like steps, but it's getting back to being more normal. Lawsuit. So the lawsuit, I assume you're talking about the girl. The lawsuit with the girl is completed, yes. That technically was completed in January 2024. There are some other things going on with the girl right now, legally. I have something I have to file like this week that is sitting right behind me. I also have a project that's due in November that I have to turn in. And then I have another project that's due in, I think, February. And I have to request some documents before that. Now, that being said, those, what I just told you right now, those are the last ones with deadlines. Because I have told you guys, ever since she walked in and filed in February of 2022, that restraining order, I have been on a timeline, her timeline. Everything has to be done within a certain number of days after this event, and then that event happens, and then it has to be done a certain number of days after that event. That all started with that first thing she filed. So I'm down to the last few things that have a timeline. We're almost done. And then I will have some time to recoup. In the meantime, I know you want all the videos about that. Here's what I've decided. All right. One, I'm going to create a completely separate channel to tell that story, because it's split down the middle here. Half the people don't want to hear anything about it. Half the people want to. The other thing is, I don't want to put it on this channel because I make money on this channel. And I don't want her to be saying that I'm doing this to make money off her or to make money off her story or whatever. So I'm going to put it on a completely separate channel that is not monetized. So I'm not making any money off the story. So the way that I've that I'm thinking about doing this is a video podcast. And I will be looking for a co-host. So yeah, this is a little ways off because it's going to be at least 2027 before I can get started. That said, we are going back to court. It will probably be likely 2028, but we are going back to court, me and her. Now, with that being said, this time I will have a lawyer, so it won't be me doing it. It won't be me stressed out and all this other stuff. I have the job now. I have the money to pay for a lawyer to do all this stuff. But basically, without getting into the details, what we will be doing is going back to challenge everything that was filed before, everything that was decided before. We still have the option to do that. And that's what we're going to do. So I have a lawyer in mind. I think he's in my state. This is the kind of case he handles. I think he's going to be good for this. The whole thing is, the reason to be fair, the reason that I didn't have a lawyer in the first place is I hired a lawyer for the consultation, and he told me that my case was so good that I didn't need a lawyer. So, but then after that, it was just that I couldn't afford one. So I haven't been doing this on my own because I wanted to. I've been doing it because I couldn't afford to have representation. But now I can. And so let me finish up what I've got to do into early next year. That's the timeline stuff. Then let me just focus on work. Because focusing on work brings that money in. I save that money. That gives me the money for the attorney to then go back and get all this stuff overturned to begin with. Now, once all that's done, then there's really just two things left. Number one, tell my story, and that's going to be the video podcast. Number two, therapy. That's definitely needed. I do have health insurance now. Not that I can afford to use it, but I do have health insurance, so that's something, I guess. So still going in the right direction. So yeah, that's the timeline on that right now. I'm sorry it's taking so long. Part of it is me mentally and trying to process things, and I can only do that so quickly with as fucked up as I got from this, but also it has to do with what all has to be done, the amount of stuff that still has to be done, and also just me being in a position where after going through this, I don't know how much mental resources I have left. This has really messed me up. So I'm slow on the processing. I'm trying to get my life back together financially. And the only advantage is that because I'm going to be making a lot of money here and I don't have many expenses, that does make it easy to save for money for a lawyer. And the lawyer can do this stuff instead of me. Hopefully better. But that has not been my experience in the past with any of the lawyers I've had. But hopefully this guy will be better than me doing it on my own. But anyway, so that's where things are. Case said, I think you should flush out those videos as soon as possible because the info or memories are still fresh in your mind. And if those videos do get viral, you want to publish early and not late. So I agree with the memories thing, and I will say they're sometimes a random thing now, and then I will have forgotten some of the details. And that's just going to have to be the way that it is because I'm already forgetting new details of things. But I will do my best. I know what you're saying, but I also am in no sense of the way ready to begin making that. I have to learn podcasting. I have to find a co-host. Maybe next year, after all the timeline stuff is done, maybe I can start recording the earliest videos, like the early years, and capture all that while the lawyer is handling things. Okay. The Real Mustard Seed fam says, do you have any siblings or were the arrangements done by you? Okay, so I don't have any siblings, but I do have a stepbrother and a stepsister. My stepbrother wasn't able to go because the funeral. He lives in Florida. He'd just been in Ohio in March to visit her. And so he couldn't afford or couldn't take time off work to come up again for the funeral. We tried to set up a live stream, but the nursing home is kind of like in a rural part of Ohio, and I don't think they understood what live streaming was when we were trying to explain it to them. They had an option where they could video record it, and then you could buy a VHS tape of it. That was the closest we got. And yes, I could have set up a live stream, like a private live stream through my YouTube channel for my stepbrother to watch. But honestly, it's my mom's funeral. I was trying to deal with that and not try to watch the freaking camera and make sure that that's going well. Like, I needed this. I needed to be able to go through the service like a normal person. Now, my stepsister, I assume my stepbrother told her. I don't know. I reached out to him and told him, and then I suppose he told her. I don't really know. She didn't show up at the funeral, and she does live locally, so. I also have an uncle, my mom's brother, but they hate each other, so he didn't come. She didn't put him in the obituary, and it's like a whole situation. So, but no, as far as the planning, my cousin, who was the one that's checking on my mom, she actually did almost all the planning herself. She asked me questions about a few things, but she did all of it herself because she actually used to work for she actually used to work for the nursing home, or not the nursing home, the funeral home. She used to work at the funeral home, and she used to work at the flower shop that was owned by the funeral home. So both like the flower arrangements and stuff and the funeral plans, she was able to mostly do herself. Because I wasn't, oh, and mom had prepaid for everything. So that wasn't an issue. Let's see. Fresh Light says, how much small student loan are you planning to pay off with money you received? So I have 2 private student loans left, and one of them is around $40,000 and one of them is around $15,000. I got that life insurance check for $16,000 something. I haven't even looked at my bank account. I've been buying groceries, gas. I did have to buy some clothes because we had a conference this past week, and of course I didn't bring any dress clothes with me. That's not normally something I need for my job, so I did have to go buy some clothes. But I'm not spending like a ton of it, but I am living off that money until I get my first paycheck. I'm thinking, I know there will be at least $10,000, hopefully more, left by the time I get to August 15th when my first paycheck comes in. So basically, of that $15,000 loan, I'll pay off at least $10,000 of it. That'll mean, yeah. So also, the payment on that loan is due the 15th, and I get my first paycheck on the 15th. So my plan is I'm going to make the regular payment on the 15th, and then once that posts, the next day I'll make the huge $10,000 some dollar payment. That way it goes almost exclusively to principal because there won't be hardly any interest accrued yet. So yeah, it'll be like $5,000. I think it's actually would be like $5,100 or $5,200 after that. And realistically, I should be able to get that paid off this year or next year. I should have the extra money to put toward that. Now, of course, that still means I have a $40,000 loan, but at least I will be be making some tangible progress. Case says, so what's the new / last court appearance with your lawyer about? I mean, if you win, what do you win? I got a bit lost in translation here because I thought this entire thing is done with already. Okay, so this has been like multiple parts because there was the restraining order stuff, and that lasted from February of 2022 to, it's a good question, when did that last to? At least May of 2023. I mean, the restraining order was over by then, but we were still in court about it. I filed the lawsuit, so there's an overlap here. I filed the lawsuit in November of 2022, and I dropped the lawsuit in January of 2024. So the lawsuit itself is over. Ever since I dropped that, so the next step after that was to do with the lawyer that I had for my appeal of the restraining order, what he told me to do. See, he told me it was more important than actually appealing the restraining order. He told me the most important thing was to file the judicial, oh God, what is it called? Judicial Investigation Commission complaints against the judges. He said that was even more important than the appeal. So that was the next step that I did after I dropped the lawsuit. So I did those, and those took me a while. That took me from the time I dropped the lawsuit until sometime early last year. And then while I was waiting on the response to that, I started looking at some options to get the original ruling overturned, while at the same time trying to get a bunch of information. So I'm still information gathering. You would be surprised how unwilling government agencies are to give you access to records, even if it's your own case. So that's been an ongoing battle. If I had not got fired, I would have sued, because in West Virginia, if they won't give you the records, there's not like an appeals process. You just have to sue them to get them. I would have hired a lawyer and sued, but I ran out of time because I didn't have time to work on it. I was homeless. I was trying to find a job. I was spending all my time doing that. So it's past the deadline that I can actually sue. So now I'm going to have to get the lawyer to request that stuff again. And then if they don't give it to him, then have him sue on my behalf. So I have at least one agency fighting me to give me stuff that's just supposed to be open public record. And even if it wasn't, it's my own case. They won't give me files from my own case. So anyway, so that's going on. And I need that stuff to do the stuff that I'm planning in the future. On top of that, I guess it doesn't hurt to say it here, but there was a police officer involved in all of this. Like, I don't know if I told you guys this, but like, she tried to hire a hitman to kill me the day that she broke up with me. And for the longest time, I didn't think about it like that. I honestly just thought she was trying to get the guy to beat me up. She like lied to him, telling him that I'd done all this stuff and that she basically didn't know who I was. She also told him that we had dated years ago, despite the fact that she just broke up with me earlier that day. But after talking to him and talking to his buddy, the cop, I realized that she was actually trying to get him to kill me. And then this cop got involved in that, and he gave her a lot of my personal information. Now, there's no record of this cop ever doing anything. I've talked to the police department and the city attorney about it. He covered everything up, whatever he did. But I do have some screenshots from his phone of conversations with my ex and what they were planning that I got through the lawsuit. So basically, the project that I have to get done by November of this year is that I have to file the complaint against him. Now, if I've been able to do this within a year, no, I didn't date any policewoman. She hates cops. She went to a guy who she knew had a violent past, and he was like this like super roided out dude, and she thought that she could get him to kill me, and then when he wouldn't do it, he's like, well, I'm not going to do that, but I have a friend that's a cop that I'm going to refer you to. And then I guess as a favor to his criminal friend, this cop gave her a bunch of my private information. And I'm talking stuff like my driver's license number and like address and stuff like that. But in West Virginia, that's illegal because it's the West Virginia Ethics Act. And there's several provisions of it that make that illegal, but also it specifically says giving out private information, including driver's license numbers, is illegal. And yet he did that. Now, if I'd had my entire life together and I dealt with this within a year, that is actually a criminal charge against the cop. But there's a 1-year statute of limitations on that. So I can no longer have him charged. But I am going to file an ethics complaint with the state and make them aware that this happened. And at the same time, file the complaint directly with the, what is it called? Internal Affairs with the police department. And with the Police Review Board, which is essentially the county commission. I'm going to file them all around the same time. It's going to be the same information, but just kind of tailored to which agency I'm sending it to. I would suspect the police department doesn't care, and I don't think that the county commission is going to care, but I do think that the ethics commission is going to care. And so I'm going to file them all around the same time. And then after that, I have to get some documents from several different places. And then I have one final complaint, also with the Ethics Commission, against one other person that's not a cop, that I have to file sometime. I have to check the date, but I think it's like February 2027. And then once that's done, there will be no more timeline. Everything that's on a timeline will be done. That allows me to relax. It allows me to focus on my job and just bring in money. And then when I want to address these issues in the future, I'll have the money to have a lawyer do all that. I'm trying to answer your questions here. You say, I mean, if you win, what do you win? Well, when we go back to court in probably 2028 or maybe 2029, by the time this all gets done, what will happen is basically every order that has been made by the Supreme Court, the Circuit Court, the Family Court, the Magistrate Court, all the way down, will be overturned. It will be legally as if the restraining order never existed in the first place. So it's not like I'm winning money, I'm just clearing my name, because that's all I care about. You said it got a bit lost in translation here because I thought the entire thing is done with already. No, I just stopped talking about it on the channel because it was making people mad. People were getting upset that I was doing this. You said at least a text notepad to write down all the topics you were going to make so you don't forget. Also write down your feelings when those things happen, because those are easy to forget. This stuff is, I mean, yes, I agree with you. Like, I am sometimes unable to remember certain details of things now. And it does make the story less, I don't know, persuasive's not the right word, but convincing, because like if I told you with full memory everything she did point by point by point, you'd be just like, oh my God. Now I have to be like, okay, she did this, 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 and this, and I can't exactly remember what order it was in. But so like I get it from that perspective, but you have to understand, I have CPTSD that I got from this, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. These are not things I'm forgetting. I have flashbacks every day. These are things that are constantly on my mind. There is not an hour that passes that I don't remember these things that happened in all these years. So there's not the risk of me forgetting. But I also do have notes, and I have all our court documents, which does record everything we have said that has happened. And of course I have recordings, and I have videos, and I have hundreds of thousands of text messages and Facebook messages and Instagram messages and emails and everything where I can just search anything that I need to from her. And no, I didn't date a policewoman. She was not a cop. She didn't like cops. I'm not going to say that until I can prove it, but I'm going to say that she was charged with taking a cop's gun away from him. What she was going to do with that gun, I don't know. And it's for some reason not in the police report. It doesn't even mention it. But she was charged with the crime of taking a cop's gun away from him. So she's not a fan of cops. So I mean, yes, I have left out a lot of stories just because it's a combination of two things. One, just the relationship part from like the time we met to the time that she ghosted me was 9 years. And you can think of how much would happen in 9 years. But the other half of, the other part of this relationship is a person who had some problem or crisis almost every single day. It's not like a normal person that would happen maybe like, once every couple years there'd be a big problem. It was like one major problem to the next major problem to the next major problem. And you can just think about how much there is to say and explain about each one of those. And it was like nearly every day that there was a new thing over that course of time. So that's how much there is. That's how much information there is. Because, God, there's just so much to say. You said you need to write down these topics, LOL. This is the first time I heard you got a hit on. Yeah. Wait, how did you find out that your ex is setting up a hit on you? Okay, so so basically, the way that I found out about it was when she filed the restraining order, she put down an address that I hadn't lived at for like 20 years. And I mean, I asked her about that during the court hearing because I'm like, why the hell did you put down this? Where did you even get this address from? Because this was before we even met. And she told me, well, first she lied and said she didn't have a more recent address, which obviously she did. I mean, 1, we lived together. 2, she knew the address I was going to in North Carolina. 3, she was tracking my address. I shared my location with her on Find Me, or like the Find My app, during the entire court process and during the lawsuit. Up until 2024, she was still following my location. She knew where I was. And she had my address that I just moved from. She knew where to find me. She purposefully put a fake address, and I don't know why. So I asked her about it. She told me that so she told me that the police officer gave it to her. And I was like, what police officer? Because she's never filed a police report against me or anything. She's never had a reason to. So I was like, what police officer? So she starts telling me that the day that we ran into each other at the gym, so this is November of 2021, she went to talk to some guy who runs a nutritional supplement store. This is the guy I told you about that he's just really aggressive and he's obviously on steroids. Like, looking at him, you can tell, and also the attitude is like a byproduct of that. But he's like really aggressive, really huge dude. And I can also for sure say he's on steroids because he got busted for production of steroids in his basement. There was like this huge police raid. And that happened before all this happened. So like, yes, it's definitely steroids. So anyway, he, I don't know, like if you're a girl and a guy talks to you at the gym. Let's just completely throw out the fact that he's your fiance, right? Or that you haven't told him that anything's wrong with your relationship. If a guy talks to you at the gym, maybe you'd be mad. Maybe you'd go complain about it online. Maybe you would, since you live with your mom, go home and talk to your mom and vent about it. Maybe you would call a friend. What you normally don't do is go to the mentally unstable guy that you know and lie to him and tell him that, you know, this guy that you don't know or that you might have dated like 10 years before is like following you around and won't leave you alone. And tell him that you don't have a father, which is what actually came out, that she told him that she doesn't have a father, and so that he felt he needed to protect her because he has a daughter. Like, that's what happened. And that's what he told me himself in a deposition. But even though he is who he is, he refused to do anything himself. He said, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I do have a friend that's a cop. And that was when the cop came into the story. The cop gave her that address and a lot of other information about me. The cop hid, like he covered up. There's no log that he accessed this information. There's no report of this happening. I don't even know if he was on duty or not. I'm still trying to find that out. The police department has not been cooperative with trying to figure this out. But basically, that's what happened. So the guy who, you know, had the raid and he's like violent, he referred her to his dirty cop friend who then gave her my information illegally. And yeah, so that's basically how that happened. And then that was the address she used for court, which did cause some other problems as far as service of documents. So that's how I found out. Basically, she told me about the address in court, and then when I filed the lawsuit, I subpoenaed both of those guys, and I made them come in and sit for a deposition. So I deposed a cop myself, and I got that information about what actually happened, and come to find out she had lied to them about everything to manipulate them to hurt me. And then, what was your question again? Oh, yeah. So now at the time, like I said, I understood that she went to that nutrition store guy to try to get him to harm me, right? She knew he was violent. She knew he was strong. She appealed to him being a protective father and her saying she didn't have one. And she totally misrepresented me and our relationship. I get that. What I did not know for about 2 years is that it wasn't just that she tried to harm me or get him to harm me. Because there was a pattern here, okay? There was a pattern of elimination. Number one, she tried to have me harmed or killed. That was her first step. That didn't work. So then she begged the police officer to arrest me. But he said he hasn't done anything illegal. So step one was harmed or killed. That gets rid of me, right? Step two gets me arrested and put in jail. That gets rid of me. That didn't work either. So step three, she files the restraining order. And in all of the documents that she filed the restraining order, she would write down that she wanted it to be permanent, which again gets rid of me entirely. So there's not an option in West Virginia to have a permanent restraining order. The longest you can have is 180 days. But every time that it came up on the paperwork, she wrote permanent. So you put that series together. She tries to have me killed. That gets rid of me permanently. They won't, but the guy won't do it. So he sends me to his dirty cop friend. The cop says, well, I can't arrest him because he didn't do anything yet. So we can't put him in jail. And so then she files the restraining order on the cop's advice, even though she didn't qualify for it, which she then continuously indicates she wants that to be permanent. So she wanted me to permanently vanish. And she cycled through different ways to try to make that happen. That's why I know she wasn't just trying to get him to hurt me. So yeah, that's basically it. So that's what I have to send to the cops, is basically saying, one of your police officers and his dirty criminal friend tried to kill me. Okay, so you said, yeah, I got a job now, pays well, expected to have the loan cleared, lawsuit gone by next, I think that's year, everything's good. You go, oh, by the way, I got hit on from a hitman, 0 to 100, just like that. Man, if you think that's crazy, wait till I actually make this podcast. That is one of the more tame things that happened in that relationship. Because that's also not the first time in 2021 that she threatened to kill me. So, yeah, there was a lot going on. And clearly, I just want to put this out there. People hear this stuff and they automatically assume that, like, I'm the problem. I'm not the one trying to get people killed. All right? I'm just living my life. I had a fiance. I walked in. I saw her at our gym. She went to the gym that I go to. She knew that. I walk up to talk to her. She's mean to me, so I go upstairs to the locker room. Like, that's pretty much it. And then at some point later that day, she starts plotting my demise. And one thing I will say, both the police officer and the nutrition store guy said that they believed her because she seemed so scared. But her mom testified in court that when she got home that night, that she was livid. That was the word that was used, livid. She wasn't scared. She was angry. And she was doing what she could to harm me, including killing me. And there's something else that happened that day too. I can't remember what else happened. Something else happened that day, that same day. I don't know. Anyway, but that's basically the gist of it. So, like, I didn't mean to be like 0 to 100, because to me, it's just, I mean, this happened 5 years ago. I've known for 5 years that she tried to do that. But I just want to make the point of, people listen to this story and they automatically blame me. And it's like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'm not the one doing this stuff. I'm just a normal guy minding my own business. Sorry guys, my battery's low. I don't think I've ever had this happen in a stream before. But, okay, there's no way for me to tell. So I'm really gonna hope that that's charging. All right. So that's kind of where things are. Yeah. And there's a lot of other things where you will be like, what the hell? I remember asking you about 1 to 2 years ago that if you knew what you know now and you can go back in time, would you still want to start dating your ex back then? And I think you said you were okay with it. Asking you the same question now, do you regret dating her? No, I don't. See, the biggest problem with that is, in order for me to feel like I regret dating her, it would have to be something along the lines of, okay, I thought she was one thing when we started dating. Then she turns out to be something else, and like, I wouldn't have dated her had I known she was like that. That would be a situation where I would like regret dating her. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know what the hell happened. There's kind of two sides to this. TMUSA, she should be in jail. I mean, she definitely should be in jail. And instead of jail, she is somewhere the opposite of that right now. I'm not going to put it out on the stream, but she is doing something very important with very vulnerable people that she has no business being anywhere around. She recently started a very high-paying job, and she's doing incredibly well for herself, which seems to be kind of how everything always works out for her. But yeah, I can't really like publicly elaborate on that anymore. But to answer your question, Case, if there's something, I just don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened when she ghosted me. It makes absolutely no sense. I have no idea why. The only thing I can say is it seems like her change toward me happened when she was in that hospital in late August, early September 2021. Everything was great until it wasn't. And I have never found out what it was. I've explained it to people like it was like she just woke up one day and hated me. And then proceeded to at least tell everyone. Like, she basically erased our relationship and our friendship as if it never happened, and she didn't know who I was. I don't know. There doesn't seem to be any explanation. I didn't have any explanation. And then when she and her mom started trying to explain it, the explanations they gave were contradictory. And then when I would like check out the people that they were mentioning, those people say that that wasn't true and they had no involvement in it. So even when I got answers, they weren't true. So I don't know. And then the other thing about it is, you know, when I started dating my ex, she was the epitome of everything that you would want for a relationship. She was the kindest, sweetest, most wholesome girl that you can imagine. And that wasn't just a front she was putting on for me. I mean, once I got to know her better and I got to know her friends and I got to know, you know, like we got connected on social media and I saw all of her posts from the past and everything, this is really who she was. Like, that validated all of that. She was absolutely like, well, this is gonna sound weird, but like, I try very hard to be a good person. She was like the female version of that. And it seemed like that was the way she'd lived her life. And then something happened, and I don't know what it was. According to her, when she was sick, everyone abandoned her, and that gave her PTSD. Except that originally she included me in abandoning her, and I had to keep telling her, you broke up with me. Remember? You broke up with me in 2015, and you said you were coming back for me, but you didn't. You reached out twice, once in 2016, once in 2017. I responded both times, and you didn't respond any farther. I did not abandon you. You, if anything, abandoned me and made me wait all those years. And I don't know. She just has this complex where she's mad at the world because she feels like everyone abandoned her when she was sick and left her to die. But she includes me in that, and I didn't do that. It was her that left. So I do kind of question it as far as anybody else doing that too. And she says she developed PTSD from that, which then the PTSD led to her being an alcoholic because that's how she was dealing with that. And the alcoholism led to a lot of other problems. I don't know what the hell is going on. I will say this. There might be something to her feeling abandoned, even if it's not true. Maybe she genuinely saw it that way. and that genuinely caused the PTSD, and that caused the other problems. That said, I have seen some things that have shown me that maybe she wasn't a nice girl before we met. When we met, I'm pretty sure she was. And as much checks out, there are a few things that stand out. And I'm not going to go through them here. I'll go through them when I make that podcast. But there are a few things from her past before we met that nothing on its own proves anything, but it's just, it casts a little bit of doubt on the nice girl image. So I don't know. Was she good and then she became bad? You know, in 2020, she was screaming at me in the car, telling me the girl I loved was dead, meaning the nice girl. And now she's saying, you know, I'm a bitch now and I'm manipulative. Who actually says that about themselves? I don't know. But she did. And she kept saying, like, you know, basically that she wasn't this nice person anymore. She was this terrible person. But then when I called her terrible, finally, after she started cheating on me, she lost her absolute shit and started playing the victim because I called her terrible. Or was she like kind of not a good person and then at some point became an extremely good person and she kept that up for quite a number of years and then later became like went full circle back to being not a good person? I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't. And I don't think I'll ever really figure it out. All of these like little patterns like this that I've seen, I will put them in the cast. I'll put the things that I've noticed. I'll put them there. And I mean, I have a lot, it's almost like a puzzle. I have a lot of pieces of the puzzle, but I don't know if I have enough to put the full picture together. And I also don't know if every individual piece I have is even real. So I don't know. But to answer your question, I don't regret dating her because that would require me thinking she was one thing and finding out she was something else, I guess. And I don't really know that. Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe something changed. That's what she says happened. Although there's some contradictory evidence, but you know, maybe she went through a really hard time and it changed her and she just came out thinking the world owed her everything. I don't really know. And I don't think I ever will know because there's just not really a way to find out. It was something my therapist pointed out to me back in like 2022, 2023. The therapist basically said to me that it was something I needed to be aware of. That if my ex ever did come back around, and if she had the intention of being completely and fully honest with me, which, to be fair, that's not going to happen. But just theoretically, if that happened and she really wanted to do the right thing, my therapist said she doesn't have the ability to. Because she genuinely herself doesn't know what's real and what's not. She doesn't know what actually happened versus what was some story she told herself or was some kind of delusion. She wouldn't be able to tell me the truth, no matter how hard she really wanted to. Well, Case, that's actually, I mean, if I were to tell this story from one end to the other, it'd be like, I don't know, 24 hours long or more. There's just no way that I could do that. I mean, I'm going to need to be able to do it in sections anyway, I'm going to need breaks and I'm going to need to be able to have, well, I mean, each segment can only be so long. And I do want the co-host to ask questions. So what I'm thinking so far is, I mean, I have to figure out podcasting first, which now I have a podcasting studio because I'm here on a college campus. So I need to find somebody. I would actually really like to have a woman as the podcast, as the other host. I think it would bring a good perspective, and I would like her perspective, because when it comes down to it, this started out as me announcing to you guys about why I was dropping the lawsuit, and like why for the past 2 years before that, it had like basically prevented me from making any videos on the channel. But then as I started to figure out how I was going to tell that story, it became, I have to explain this thing first. And then, well, even before that, I have to explain this thing for this to make any sense. So it got to the point where I'm just going to have to tell the entire story from the beginning for any of this to make any sense. And so that's what I decided to do, is I'm just going to start at the beginning and tell the entire story. But I also realized that this is more than a story of why I dropped a lawsuit. This is a story of an abusive relationship. It's a story of domestic violence, and it's an example, one of the few examples of, you know, female on male, and also male speaking up publicly about it. I think it is important for me to tell the story, and I want to, but I'm realizing that it's more that than anything else. It's more, I survived domestic violence and an abusive relationship, and I'm speaking up about that, and I'm telling my story as a survivor. And that, you see a lot of that. I don't think you see any guys doing that. And that makes it that much more important for that story to be out there. And I will tell you guys, I'm going to say this right now, because there's some people that are going to be watching this, and they're going to say, I don't believe you. You know, I can't believe a woman could do that. What I can tell you is that after me, the person she dated after me, she was arrested for domestic battery against her. So this is not just a me thing. She did it to somebody else too. So, yeah, that, of course, nothing happened. She got away scot-free like she always does, but that at least was documented that it happened that she did it to somebody else. Oh, I think you should try video documentary. So I don't have the video skills to do a documentary, but it will be a video podcast. It's not just going to be a podcast, and it will be hosted on YouTube, by the way. So YouTube does video podcasts. It'll just be a separate YouTube channel. But I am starting at the very beginning, so there will be a backstory. Yeah, I mean, I'm basically gonna start out where it starts, and for like an episode or two, and then I want to jump back of like, here's how I got to that point. You know, here's me, and this is where this goes. And at some point, we'll bring in her backstory as well. What the background story is, then dive deeper. Yes, and we will. So also questions, kind of like this, like kind of where we'll get questions from the comments and then go over them like in a discussion format, even when it's not a segment of the regular story. But yeah, so we'll do that. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm out of this. Well, almost. I have to get some caffeine. This doesn't have any caffeine, so I'm like struggling. I'll be right back. All right, favorite cup again, and this is not anything special. It's just Diet Pepsi. Okay, Fresh Light says, how does your normal work day look like? Have you set up any new daily routine? Well, I don't really have a new daily routine yet, but I do think I'll get into one later on in the semester. So the thing is, right now, how do I say this? So our training started on the 16th, and we had a few days of training. And then Thursday and Friday this week, we had a conference that we were going to for our department. Next week, so far, tomorrow and Tuesday, I'm gonna go over to the office, because I have a separate office like a couple blocks away. I'm gonna go over there, and I'm on that interview panel. And then is it tomorrow night? I don't know. I've got that axe throwing thing, which is a social, I think it's pretty much required for our department. So it changes a lot right now. Like, it's just got all over the place. But once school starts, it will be a little more normalized. I technically have an 8 to 5 schedule. Now, if I don't wake up and I'm not up at 8 a.m., nobody cares. It's mainly I'm on call 24/7. And there are things that I need to get done. Technically, my work hours are 8 to 5. So after 5 p.m., no one's going to be checking on me to see if I'm doing something. But at the same time, I do kind of need to be up like earlier. Yeah, Case, I do think so. You're saying if your entire story is worth 24 hours of video, don't you think a podcast, which is a one-to-one dialogue, would take at least minimum double the time? Yes. So this is one of the most onerous things about this is like, there is so much to say. And I'm not saying me talking about my opinions about everything. I'm saying just to go point by point of like, this started out here, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. There's so much to it. So yes, but I think the difference is podcasts are broken down into episodes where you can roughly talk about a time period or roughly talk about a certain topic. Whereas if I did one continuous 24-hour long video, very few people were going to sit and watch a 24-hour video. And even if they did have the dedication to come back and watch that, to set it down and go do something and then come back and watch more, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier when there are stopping points. And you can create those with episodes, rather than some guy just talking for 24 hours. Gives me time to reflect too. I think I will probably be processing somewhat through all of this. As I'm telling the story, and as I'm telling, because this is the first time I've ever told anyone, because I mean, nobody's going to sit down for like 24 hours and hear me tell the story from start to finish. So I've never told anybody the story. And so what I want to do is what's that? All right. What I want to do is tell the story, yes, but do so in segments. And yeah, to your point, yes, having a co-host who is going to be asking questions, or at least having conversation back and forth about what I'm saying. I think, yes, you're correct that that's going to extend the runtime. But I think if we extend the overall runtime with someone else's input, but break it up into sections, then it's going to keep people more engaged. And I do think I mean, I don't get this that often, and obviously you guys don't care, but a lot of people don't want to just sit and watch someone talk for a long time. Like they want to have interaction or something more stimulating on the screen. So if I'm telling a story and then I have a co-host who interrupts and like asks a question about it, I think that helps with that to keep people engaged. I'm actually one of the people I'm well, I don't have anybody in particular in mind. I'm actually kind of hoping I can get like a domestic violence advocate to yeah, to be a co-host. So I have no idea how long this is going to be. Is it going to be 10 episodes? Is it going to be 100 episodes? I don't know. It depends on just how long it takes to tell the story. And until I start, I won't know. But the other good point, or the good thing about putting it into a podcast rather than making it just one enormously long video, is because I'm able to add to it. So let's say I get to the complete end of everything I need to do legally with her. I start making the podcast and I put up like a 24-hour long video, and then something else happens. Well, I'd have to create a new video to add to that. If I do it a podcast, I can do update videos. I can say, hey, guess what, guys? Turns out she got arrested again. I can make an update like that, and it'd be an episode just about that that new point on the storyline. Or it can be, hey, I'm probably not going to make this until after we finish court, but like it would be like, hey, I have this update from the court or whatever. That's kind of how I'm going to do it. Now, one thing also too, I'm now at a university, so I have access to the podcast studios. They have a class here that I can take. I can take for free because I'm a staff member here. So I do think I am going to go ahead and start learning the process of how to produce and edit a podcast. That way, when I think about how I'm going to tell the story, it can kind of go along with the format it would need to. I mean, I'm kind of familiar with podcasts, but I think that would help me out. Also, guys, I have had a persistent cough since February, since I had pneumonia. And it's weird because it's fine as long as I'm drinking something. But if I go too long without drinking something, I'll start coughing. And my throat's not sore or anything. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Case. You can make 24 parts in 1 hour documentary. It doesn't have to be one 24-hour podcast. With that said, think about this. It is going to be hard to find a co-host. I mean, I can do it on my own. I can. You're going to have a very hard time finding a woman that's on your side and also have domestic abuse experience. Yeah, that is going to be a hard thing. But they are out there. They are. There's one of them that's commented on this video right now. I don't think she'd be a podcast host, but I do know there's somebody that agrees with me here. There are some out there. I had a domestic violence advocate through the local women's shelter who did support me. And she made some very supportive comments about what was going on. But well, yeah, I see what you're saying, because you're doing a podcast about women domestic abuse on you, while your co-host is a woman who probably had domestic abuse experience from a man. And that's probably true. There are, though, like I was saying, the domestic violence advocate that I had, she was very supportive. In fact, when she saw how the court was treating me, like, she, you know, she being a domestic violence advocate was even saying that women shouldn't just blindly be believed, and that men should have the opportunity to defend themselves in court, because she saw that I didn't get that. Well, Case, yeah, I'm not gonna put just any woman on there. Like, if she's what you're explaining, if she's gonna be like that and try to claim domestic abuse as the exclusive domain of women and that men can't be victims, well, obviously I'm not gonna put her on there, because, well, that's not correct. But also, somebody constantly doing that would get in the way of me telling the story, and getting in the way of me opening up, because this isn't something that's easy for me to talk about. So I'm not going to have somebody like that on there. What I would ideally, what I'd be able to find would be someone who has experience with domestic abusers, so that, and is not biased like that, so that they can see by me telling my story, like, they see the signs in me that they see in victims, basically. And I know they exist, because I know I've found a couple of them. Now, my domestic violence advocate, she no longer works for the shelter. I don't know where she is now, but I know because I called, I think, like a year ago to ask her about something, and she's no longer there. But I would eventually be able to find somebody, and that's just going to take the time to be like defining them. What I don't want either is, I don't want two guys, because it's going to be me, and then if there's a guy there, they're going to be like, well, of course the guy's going to agree with me, right? That's why it's important for me to have a woman there. It's just like when, a lot of times when a man goes to court, like for criminal charges, a lot of times he'll get a female attorney, to show that, a woman also supports him. So people can't make the argument of, like, oh, this is just a guy saying something. So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I have so much work to do getting this stuff done with court before I even start with a podcast, that's something that I can figure out then. But I do think it would be good if I have somebody to discuss this with. So, like, for example, I just, no offense to you, but I know you have had some bad experiences with women, and I know from the comments that you've said before, I think if you were a co-host for it, I think you'd go the other way, where I'd be like holding you back and be like, no, like, hold on, let's be fair. Like, and I don't want that either, so I don't want somebody that's leaning that direction, and I don't want somebody that's leaning the other direction, being, so pro-female that they're anti-man. So, I don't know, and maybe I won't find somebody. Maybe I won't find anybody, and I have to do it on my own. But I think it would be better if there was somebody there to interject and ask questions, and to sort of react. Not all the time, but when I do say something, like you reacted when I mentioned that she hired a hitman, and you're like, what? Like, I think I'm desensitized in some sort of ways, because it's like, so many of the things that she did were so outlandish that they stand out to me, but not like they would to other people. Yeah. So I don't know. That's just kind of where it is. I got to figure it out. I don't know. I mean, eventually I'm going to reach out to the local operation here, whether it be through the university or whether it be through, I don't know, like the county or something. And I just want to ask them. I'm like, I know that you, and this is the way it was up in Ohio, I know that you advocate for victims speaking out and telling their story. That's what I'm doing here. I know that you promote that. So how, best practices of doing that. Case says, okay, think about it this way. Imagine if a woman podcaster is inviting you to be a co-host to talk about how women get abused, stalked, and physically attacked by men. It would be weird for you to be there since you have completely different experience. Well, yeah, that would be weird. I mean, I would be uncomfortable being there just because of what happened to me. I'd be uncomfortable talking about that topic. I need to be a co-host. So I'm not talking, so she's talking about how women in general get that stuff happen by men in general. I'm not generalizing anything. I'm talking about one specific man and one specific woman and what happened. Like, yes, I will at some point, especially when I talk about when I reached out for help and couldn't get any. Like, I will talk about what resources there are for men versus what resources there are for women, how I was refused service by different... Oh, guys, okay. Update. Actually, I just had a breakthrough the other day. Okay. Yeah, Case, I mean, this is just something I'm going to have to see if I can find. He said, anyways, I have to get off noon, but just advice to not put so many obstacles before you. You're putting the videos on hold. You're waiting for other things to finish first before. I mean, I am. Yes, I agree. But I have to because I have so many things I'm juggling right now. And I can't start making the videos until the court stuff is done. And I need the time to get the court stuff done. Like, I have so little free time to get this stuff done. I get it in right under the deadline, and then that stuff has to be done before I can even make the videos. So, like, I can't actively be in court and be making these videos, or she's going to bring them up in court. So that's kind of where that's at. But what I was saying, in case if you want to come back later after this re-uploads and see this, since you have to go, and now you have to find the 1 in a millionth chance of a woman who qualifies to do a 24-part podcast with you, and it's not impossible. It's just, well, I mean, I'm not gonna not make the videos just because I can't find somebody to do that. I might end up with a male co-host, or I might end up with no co-host. Like, I'm not gonna if I can't find that rare person to do that, I'm still gonna make the videos. Okay, but this is the important thing I needed to tell you guys. So, I think I told you guys this, but when I went to court, I had to have a domestic violence advocate come in from Ohio, so from a different state, to represent me, because the local agency that was supposed to represent me wouldn't do so. They refused. And instead, they they represented my ex. So, so not only did they told me first that they don't help men, which turns out not to be true, because their website says differently. But that's what they told me when I called. And I just accepted that. Then I go to the hearing, and they're helping my ex. Well, my ex got a lot of special treatment because of that at the hearing. And then before the appeal, the hearing at the circuit court, I went and I got an advocate, and she came from Ohio, and she sat there with me, and she told me, what happened was, completely contrary to anything she'd ever seen. And she made it a point to tell me that I was being treated differently by the legal system than she'd ever seen any other man treated. She also is one of the two who encouraged me to file the lawsuit. That was a means of advocating for myself. To stand up to your abuser and actually take them to court over what they did. So between my therapist and my domestic violence advocate, that's where that came from. Now, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So when it came around the time for me to file the lawsuit, I again asked the domestic violence place to represent me and help me. And specifically, the reason I did this, because I still had my Ohio advocate, but it wasn't easy for her to travel to West Virginia, and it took like a lot of their resources and stuff. But I had so I needed to get a local advocate, but the agency that was over that area, they were the ones helping my ex. So what I ended up doing is I called them and I said, hey, I know you guys aren't willing to help me, but here's the thing. Because of the accusations against me, I'm not able to get any help through legal aid. And I called legal aid and they said that if you guys give me whatever the name of the test was, it was something they had to administer, that when you send those results back to them, that I was not, like I didn't have aggressive tendencies or something like that, that they would still help me. And they would provide me a lawyer to fight this. And they refused. They refused to do that, and they refused to help me get the lawsuit prepared because they said that I had been determined to be the primary aggressor. And they were adamant about this, that I had been determined to be the primary aggressor in the domestic violence situation. Well, one, there was no domestic violence situation because nothing she ever alleged against me qualifies as domestic violence. I mean, she said a lot of stuff like, I lied to her mom, which I didn't. Or I harassed her landlord about her bills, which I didn't, and her landlord testified to that effect at the hearing. She's mostly just lying, and when not lying, she was, the stuff that she was saying was completely twisted, and even when it was true, it had nothing to do with domestic violence or anything for us to be in court over. But my point in saying all of this is that term, I just found out this month, primary aggressor actually means something. That's not just the way somebody is wording something. And it turns out that it is complete bullshit. So they argued with me that I'd been determined to be the primary aggressor. Well, here's the thing. It turns out in West Virginia, that is an actual specific term that's used by law enforcement. And it's used by law enforcement to, when they go to a domestic violence call, they have to make an arrest. That's the way West Virginia law is. And they determine which person is more at fault, and then they take that person. That is what being determined a primary aggressor is. But the police were never involved. She never called the police on me. She never filed a police report against me. There was nothing for her to ever do that over. But this agency, first of all, told me they wouldn't help men, period, which was a lie. And then second, said that they wouldn't help me because the police had determined that I was the primary aggressor, which they didn't because the police were never involved. Like, they would just come up with any excuse not to help me. And now that I know that this is a specific terminology, one of the many other things that's on the pipeline is going to the funding board in the legislature of the domestic violence agency and filing a complaint against them for their refusal to represent me and instead assisting my ex in further abusing me. I'm basically accusing the domestic violence agency of domestic violence through legal abuse. And, you know, the director will never call me back, and, you know, all this other stuff that's going on with that. So that's where that is. TMUSA said, how do you like your apartment in the area so far? The apartment is fine. The only weird thing about it is that it's over, well, you can kind of see part of it. So there's like cabinets here and on the other side. And then you've got this long desk here. But also just over here is the TV. So if I'm sitting on the couch over there, I have to look through the desk to the TV mounted on the wall above the desk. It's kind of weird to look at it from here, and it's kind of weird to sit at the desk and have the TV like right up in your face. That's probably not that big a deal. But I mean, the apartment is much nicer than any of the other house director suites I've had. The fact that it was like relatively clean when I moved in is something different as well. It's fine. It's also bigger. Well, it might not be the biggest one I've had, but it's much bigger than the one I had in New Hampshire. So it's okay. I mean, these are never meant to be like nice, really, but yeah, they're it's okay. And then as far as the area, I like the temperature. It's usually 100 degrees. It's currently, oh my god, okay, it's 89.8 right now. So I do wish there was more stuff downtown, but there is stuff within walking distance. Actually, over the this is the last day to get a free smoothie at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. So before they close tonight, I'm gonna order a peanut butter banana flatbread, and then when you get an entree, you get a free smoothie. So I'm gonna walk over there and get that. But basically, it's fine. I like it better than New Hampshire. I know that when I was in New Hampshire, you guys would ask me how I liked it, and I'm just like, it's okay. Like, it's just okay. Like, I'm okay because I'm making money here, kind of thing. This is basically the same, but it's like a little bit better. It's a little bit better than that. There's more stuff around. It's a bigger city. It is not cold, which is a huge plus. Freshlight says, what appliances do you have in the kitchen that came with the apartment? Well, I have a full-size refrigerator with a freezer on top. Well, I guess that's it as far as appliances. I mean, it has a sink. It does not have a garbage disposal. I would really like that. That might be something I have to get them to do in the future. It did come with a microwave and a toaster oven that the guy that was here before me left. I told him not to leave it, but he was like, well, you know, I'm just going to throw it away if I don't leave it. And I was like, okay, go ahead and leave it. Because right now I don't have my toaster oven or microwave because they're in storage in Ohio. And I'm hopefully going to get them before school starts. But, because like his aren't very good. Like the toaster oven's not big enough for me to put a pizza in, and the microwave's not very good. Like, I have had a lot of problems with it heating stuff. So, I want mine, and I just need to go get it. So, oh, and you asked about a stove. It does not have a stove. So, what I'm gonna do, well, once I get I have a Ninja Foodie, if you guys know what that is. It's a huge toaster oven, and you can put like a full-size pizza in it. So, when I get that, I'm gonna use that as basically the oven. And then, if eventually I want to get creative, I mean, I don't really cook, but if I want to get creative, I will get one of those induction cooktops. They use them mostly in Asia, but They have them at IKEA. There's one for like $40. You have to get like a special type of like cookware that works with them. I don't totally understand the science behind how they work, but apparently they don't like there's no heat, so there's not like an issue with fire. Fresh Light says yes, induction cooktop is good and comparatively cheap too. Yeah, that's probably just what I'm gonna get, and then starting sometime in August, I'm gonna have food service here. Oh, guys, there's a train coming. You'll hear it in the background. But the chef will be here soon, and then when food service starts, most of my meals will be covered by the food service, so I won't be cooking all that much. Probably all weekends, sometimes in the evening, but during the day, most of the time it'll be covered. So yeah, that's kind of. Fresh Light says once food service starts, your main meals will be covered. That's good. Yeah. So once that starts, that's why I'm saying I'm gonna have so much extra money, because I make a normal salary. Like my base salary is $48,840. Now they do require that 9% of that go to retirement, and then I probably will have like the price of my insurance and some stuff like that come out of that. But I will get a decent amount of money every paycheck, and basically everything's paid for. So my rent, utilities, internet, water, trash, and like some food is paid for. Oh, and Hulu, because we have to get that for the house, so that's free. That's something I have right now, which I can cancel once that starts. So a lot of stuff will be paid. It's mostly me just paying my credit cards and my loans, and then saving money otherwise. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm gonna have to like kind of buckle down this fall, just until like the end of the year. I should have one credit card will be paid off, I think in November. There's another one that will be paid off early next year. It would have been paid off already, except the whole losing my job thing. And then I'll just leave one that hopefully I can get paid off in 2027. So assuming everything stays stable with my income, I should be good on that. But let's see. Okay, so we're at 6:09. Been on for like a little over 3 hours. I'm probably gonna end this fairly soon. Let me go over the top fans before I do that. So we've got at 250 XP in first place, Ashy Fox 241, who had the $4.99 super chat. And then I have Fresh Lights at second place, well, actually tied with Case. So second and third, 150 XP. TM USA in fourth at 125 XP. Glass Candy 1375 XP. Oh, and then, well, actually, everybody 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place are tied at 75 XP. So Glass Candy 13, Floodland 99.99, Pass 12, and AJ are all tied for, well, 5th place at 75. All right, cool. All right, well, I don't see any more comments, so I have to do a little bit to get caught up on work, and I'm going to go over and get that thing, that food I mentioned. Just know all that stuff I talked about is in the works. I just have a massive amount of things that I'm juggling right now, and so much work, like, sort of pushing me down, but if I can just chip away at it, like working on the 15,000 emails, 20 emails at a time every day, I will eventually get all that done. And once it's done, that will be so much weight off of me where I can actually function normally. I just can't make it happen quickly. I don't have enough resources to do that. So that's just kind of where I'm at. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. This month, for the rest of the month, the main thing I'm going to try to do on the channel is get that big student loan update video out. The one that was supposed to be up at the beginning of this month. The one that I showed you earlier. I'll get those consolidated. I'll get that filmed, edited, uploaded, and then that'll give you an update on the student loan balances and everything that's happened from 2020 to now with my student loans. And that's probably going to be the big update for this month, and we'll do another live stream. And for the live stream next month, we will be in a different location. The guys will be back, and I don't want to sit here in this apartment with them coming to the door and bothering me and stuff. So I have 2 off-campus offices, and I'm gonna use one of them to, there's like a conference room over there I can use. So we'll be from there next time. So, all right. I don't see any more comments, so, all right. It's been a while since we've gone 3 hours. Appreciate you guys being here. So, yeah, just look forward to that student loan video, and I will, we'll do this again into next month.